looking back now that Arrow's 21 years old, is that really the beginnings of it were when Rita Raj and I were working in the Asian and Pacific Development Center in the Gender and Development Program. And we were working on a women's health book, a regional women's health book about women's activism all over Asia and Pacific. And through that process of doing that book, we came to see many resources that women had made themselves. Women NGOs had made books, posters, strategy lessons, and we could see that once the book was finished, all of this information that women had gathered and shared was not going to have any sort of permanent place. And we thought that it would be very useful to keep on having a regional information and resource center where we could put the materials from the Women's Health book there and keep adding to it so that women would learn from one another's activism. So that was one of the first needs. Women NGOs were sending their materials, their publications to us, and we were keeping them in boxes ready for when we would have a bigger space. The objectives then remain as in essence today. It's really more like a mission, which is to bring about a change in health policies and programs, reproductive health policies and programs, to be more sensitive to women's needs and based more on women's realities. So what was very significant, I think probably Arrow may not have really taken off as it has in the direction we've done if we had not had a rethink in the early days and tuned into the women's movement basically globally. What were they saying, what were others saying needed to be done regarding government accountability.
Arrow has tremendous sort of organizational and managerial and advocacy and alliance skills, and they are fantastic in gathering voices from their region and translating that into messages that are even conceived and understood outside of their own region.
We wanted to have an organization that was a good organization, that was fair to staff, that was fair to the people in it. So we decided to spend time on setting up procedures, processes, salary scales that gave a good wage. So we spent time on that as well as the program.
Arrow has played a very important role in leading a cohesive movement, towards bringing the women, the feminists from the South, and enhancing women's voices from the region and taking them into the right forums, to the right platforms, facilitating the partners to be part of various regional and international processes. And it's always fun to be with Arrow. So yes, happy birthday.
In 2001, an Arrow Regional Partners meeting identified the need to systematically invest in building a strong Asia-Pacific partnership for advocacy on sexual and reproductive health and rights. Since then, the Women's Health and Rights Advocacy Partnership, or as we know as WRAP, was born. Moving on from there, WRAP South Asia was initiated with a focus on safe motherhood in 4 countries in South Asia, including Bangladesh, India, Nepal, and Pakistan. Since then, the modality has been rolled out to China and 7 countries in Southeast Asia. WRAP has ensured that the unique modalities of women's rights organizations working with communities to advocate using grassroots evidence, where we have reached out to thousands of marginalized women and young people. There is emphasis on collective strategizing, continuous capacity building, and speaking as one voice to demand accountability from our governments. The main focus for policymakers is to take a rights-based approach that incorporates equitable and non-discriminatory access to continuum of quality care and access to SRHR information and services for the most marginalized women and young people.
Happy 20th anniversary, Arrow, and just congratulations for the good work you are doing, especially monitoring implementation of ICPD and CPD. You've been very, very active. Actually, you made us wake up, like the Africa region, you made us wake up, because before then, I had no idea this was going on.
We generally use evidence generation in order to look at how governments have delivered on the commitments that they have made at the international level. And our work has been consistently focusing on the International Conference on Population and Development, which was a seminal document, consensus document agreed upon by 179 member states. And in our strategy, what we try to do is we work with national partners. We have perhaps a set of indicators that we monitor across countries. We enable partners to choose advocacy topics which they feel are the most strategic to push forward the SRHR agenda in their country. And we work together in partnership to ensure that the message comes out clearly at national level, at regional level, and at international level.
As partners, I think it also helped us in our researches, and of course with that, that was also crucial in the winning of the advocacy for reproductive health in the Philippines, because we really won because of evidence-based advocacy, so to be able to convince the policymakers.
Arrows has always believed that information and communications is central to achieving social change, and it has been one of our core strategies from the beginning. Through our various Infocom mechanisms, including our resource center, our website, our social media, our SRHR info resource, and our various marketing platforms, we are able to amplify our advocacy and reach our key SRHR stakeholders from more than 120 countries globally. Arrow has also produced seminal cutting-edge publications, including on young women and their right to safe abortion services, the impact of religious fundamentalisms on SRHR, the need to use a sex-positive, affirmative framework for looking at sexuality issues. We've also done publications, Arrows for Change issues, on the interlinkages of SRHR with various sustainable development issues like climate change, migration, poverty, food security, amongst others. I'm very proud to be saying that Arrow is one of the very few SRHR organizations who is using an intersectional, inter-movement approach to working. And we're able to come up with a joint call to address poverty, food security, food sovereignty, right to food and nutrition, and SRHR. And we work with allies from the migration movement to be able to get sexual and reproductive rights of migrants recognized in UN meetings.
The one thing that I really like about Arrow is that it's not really limiting itself only in the discussion related to the SRHR, but also look into the other structural issues that are really important for us women. I think that Arrow and APWLD is always in line, and then you guys rock!
We have been working on increasing women's participation, especially in the post-2015 processes and also beyond that. And we're happy to partner with Arrow, which has contributed a lot, especially in terms of advocating for gender equality, women's rights, and women's empowerment, on a special emphasis on SRHR issues.
What was a little bit surprising for us, we never dreamed, Rita and I, that Arrow would be so successful. So because we had we'd included monitoring Cairo and Beijing, and the Cairo conference was held 18 months after Arrow was formed, the Beijing conference 2 years, we were thrown in the thick of things. So it was like, I often joke with friends, I say, well, after the Beijing conference in 1995, you know, Arrow never stopped. It was, you know, much work all the time, and we just zoomed ahead.
I think that the kind of vision that we have of sexual and reproductive health and rights for women is something, development that takes place in a holistic context, that, you know, advancements in SRHR are cognizant of advancement in all of these areas. And as such, you know, we have actually gone into really exploring the interlinkages between SRHR and other key development issues such as climate change, food security and food sovereignty, religious extremism, and these, I think, and migration, and these hold us in good stead in order to, like, you know, put forward, you know, really a vision of how, you know, women can live in a more equal, equitable, just and sustainable world.